Hi, everyone. Dr. Adriana Popescu here with you today. Very excited to be here. And we're going to be talking today about what if there's nothing wrong with you? And Antonietta is going to be talking with us, but I see that she has dropped off the Zoom. So I will talk until she comes back. But I love this idea that, I really got this from my work with Access Consciousness. What if in fact there's actually nothing wrong with you? I just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a licensed clinical psychologist, an addiction and trauma specialist, and an empowerment coach based out of San Francisco, California. And really what I see my work as being so much about these days is this very idea of challenging people to look at how they are seeing themselves, how they are seeing the world, and asking some questions like, what if there's nothing wrong with you? What if you are not broken and defective? What if you're not as effed up as you think you are? So Antonietta's back. I've introduced myself.
Yes,
you have some questions for me.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Spanish speakers. We're very happy to be here with your Spanish community, Adriana. So with this great topic, and my question is, when do we actually start making us wrong? So, or believing that there is something wrong with us?
Yes. Well, we're not really born that way. When we're little babies and children, we don't know what judgment is. We're just being. We're being ourselves. We're being happy and curious and joyful and in the moment. And we get taught things. There's a wonderful book by Don Miguel Ruiz called The Four Agreements. And he calls this process, which I love this term, the domestication of the human. So we come to believe things, just like we take wild animals and we domesticate them. Such the same happens to children, where you're given messages by our families, by our schools, by our teachers and everyone at school, by religions, by churches, by the TV and Hollywood and social media. We're always getting these messages about how we're supposed to be, how we are supposed to act, who we're supposed to be, what's okay, what's not okay, and we learn judgment, right? We learn to make ourselves right or wrong because we are being judged. And we are watching other people, we're watching our parents and whoever's raising us, we're watching them do judgments. So we learn to copy that, mimic that, and do the same. And then that's how judgments get created. Some of them we take on from our family, friends, and such, and some we come to the conclusion ourselves. For instance, I work a lot with people with trauma, and people who are abused at a young age, they don't understand why that's happening. They don't understand that maybe the person that's abusing them has their own trauma that they're enacting, or that they have an addiction or a mental illness, or something is going on with them that's making them be abusive. The child doesn't understand that. The child thinks, if I'm good, I get rewarded. If I'm bad, I get punished. So if something bad is happening to me, it must be my fault. I have done something wrong. I am bad. And this is how beliefs like this, points of view that we have about ourselves, judgments we have about ourselves, begin to form.
Yes, that's true. So that means at our age right now, we may have many thoughts that we are, or there is something wrong with us, that thoughts that are not ours. So how to distinguish if in fact this is our thought or not?
Well, Access Consciousness has a wonderful tool called Who Does This Belong To? Ask it when you notice yourself going into judgment, when you're going into the wrongness of you. Ask yourself, is this my thought? Where is this coming from? Who does this belong to? What if I'm actually picking up on the thoughts of other people around me?
Yes, thank you. This is an amazing tool, actually, to in order to get the awareness of if we are picking up some thoughts of other people, even as you said, our family, we were not born with this belief or these thoughts that I am wrong, you know. So thank you for this this clearing and this tool actually. So what else can we use in order to take out from our minds, from our bodies, this sensation of wrongness?
It's a challenge because we live in a world that is based on polarity. It's all about what's right and who's wrong and what's good and what's bad. I mean, it's all around us. Yeah. So it can be challenging to extract yourself from that reality, but with tools, whether it's access consciousness or other modalities, you can learn to challenge. I mean, first you have to recognize, right? First you have to become aware that you're doing it. So you might need to start paying attention to your thinking. What happens, for example, when I look in the mirror, what thoughts come? For most people, it's, I don't like the way my butt looks. I don't like the way this shirt is fitting me. My stomach is too big. My face looks old. You know, we start immediately going into the judgments and making ourselves wrong. So first, you have to notice you're doing it. So pay attention. Start demanding of yourself to notice when you are making these negative judgments of yourself. And then when you recognize that it's happening, that's when you can ask some other questions, right? Access consciousness in particular is all about questions. Questions empower, questions open up different possibilities. Answers and judgments, conclusions, all contract the energy and limit possibilities. So ask a question. When you're looking in the mirror, instead of looking at everything that's wrong with you, what if you say, what's right about me? You know, what do I like about how I look today? You know, maybe I like the way my hair is looking. That's pretty cool, right? Try to, in the beginning, it's about at least getting access to more positive thoughts, right? Because we're so used to being on this polarity of right and wrong and good and bad. If you at least start with a question like, what's right about me that I'm not getting? Or what's right about the situation I'm in that I'm not getting? It starts opening up your perspective to see it differently. Now, ultimately, I would say we want to get beyond all of that. Like, what's beyond all judgment? Right and wrong, good and bad, positive or negative, right? But that may take some work. That requires you, for instance, to recognize that judgment is not real. It's purely an invention. Nowhere else in the universe, no other animals, plants, nothing in nature judges, only humans do this. And if you study human history and, you know, sociology and anthropology, you find that judgment became a great tool of control. At some point in history, when people started settling into communities and they weren't so much nomads anymore, right? Certain people wanted to be in control. And so you see systems, religious systems, government systems that all became about control. Well, what better way to control people than to judge them and make them wrong and say, look, you better do what we say or else you're going to burn in hell, or you're going to get kicked out of the community, or, you know, you're going to be on your own. And in early times, that may have meant you might die out there all alone. So we learn to obey, we learn to create authority figures, and we learn to obey them, and we learn to buy their judgments as real and true. So part, I think, of this unlearning process around making yourself wrong is also to start to recognize judgment isn't real. It's an invention, and you don't have to make it real and significant. You know, we tend to put our loved ones up on a pedestal and we value what they think and what they say. So if our parent or our partner tells us, hey, you know, you're being bad, or I don't like what you're doing, most of us tend to either align and agree with that judgment and take it on, or we resist and react to it and we want to defend and fight. What if it's irrelevant? What if what that person thinks is just an interesting point of view? This is another one of the amazing tools of access. Interesting point of view. Interesting point of view, this person has this judgment of me. What if it's just an interesting point of view? If you say that repeatedly, interesting point of view, they have that point of view. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view. Or for yourself, if you're the one doing the judgment, interesting point of view, I have that point of view that I'm wrong. Or interesting point of view, I'm buying their judgment of me as being true. You keep saying that, and what it does is it gives you some space away from the judgment and allows you to recognize it's just a point of view. It's not real. It's not significant. I don't need to do anything with it unless I choose to. So what if we didn't have to put certain people up on a pedestal to make ourselves lesser than and make them greater than us, right? The other thing we can use is the access consciousness clearing statement, right? So the clearing statement, if you guys want to find, I'm not going to explain what it all is. I think probably a lot of people on this call are familiar with the access consciousness clearing statement, but we can use this to bring up these energies of limitation, the energies of judgment, and use the clearing statement to release them. So for example, I could give you guys a clearing, like everywhere you have made the judgments of others real and true, you have aligned and agreed with those judgments, or you've resisted and reacted and fought against them, which also validates them and makes them real and true. Will you all destroy and uncreate that? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Everything that doesn't allow you to be the space of interesting point of view and recognize that judgment is not real, will you destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes, please.
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Wow, this is great, Adriana. Thank you very much, and welcome to the people that are just joining us. So the question, Adriana, it should be a very challenging stuff right now. And me as a mother, I think I may be judging the whole time my children. Maybe if I say, okay, you are naughty, so I am putting judgment with in them, and then let's say I stop them. I want to control them, so I stop them. And what can I do? What can we do in that cases, or how to stop judging?
Yes, when you're judging others. So, you know, usually judging others is a projection of your own judgments. So I would be looking at, you know, where are you trying to get it right? Where are you trying to be the perfect, you know, parent or whatever? So what judgments are you holding about your children or about yourself that you're putting on them? So you could look at that. It's projecting and expecting. So you could destroy and uncreate all the projections and expectations and judgments that you have of your children and how they should act and how they should behave. Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what would it be like to teach them the tools and to practice allowance, letting them make their own choices, however stupid those choices may be, because then they actually will learn something. Because when you try to control a child, I'm sure most of you had this experience growing up, does the child want to be controlled? Does anyone want to be controlled? No, right? So they're going to rebel and they're going to say, screw you, mom. They're going to say, I'm not listening to you. What if instead you were willing to allow them to make mistakes and learn for themselves? And then you could ask, you know, what is your choice going to create? I see that you're wanting to do this naughty thing. If you choose that, what will it create? And is that the result that you want? So you get them in the question and looking at their choices and how their choices create, right? Because whether they're making a stupid choice or a conscious choice, their choice is still going to create something. It's going to have an outcome. And what we want to do, at least with access tools, is empower our children to make choices, to recognize that they have the ability to make choice and they don't have to be controlled by anyone, including their parents. It's a very different way of seeing things.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Adriana. Let's have a look to our Spanish community. If we have any question, Lilian, or here in our English Zoom.
Yes, we have two Zooms going simultaneously, one in English and one in Spanish. So you can ask your question in either language.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can also type things in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself.
Exactly. So Adriana, judgment is the root of everything. So we can say if we feel ourselves, there is something wrong in myself, in my body, in my work, in my stuff, actually, because I may be very judgmental. So this is the root, right?
Yeah. I say that judgment is the greatest source of human suffering, period. If you look at all of the suffering in the world, whether it's out there between people or it's internally, it's constantly this conflict between right and wrong and good and bad, and trying to prove who's right and who's wrong. And so if we are able to recognize that judgment, our point of view is what's creating the judgment, our point of view creates our reality. So if you have something in your life that's not working, your job, your body, your relationships, you can ask, what is the point of view I have, or what is the judgment I have here that is creating this? It might be my judgment, might be someone else's judgment. Maybe I've bought someone else's judgment, and you can keep asking, more questions. But I think you have to first recognize that whatever is not working is typically coming from some sort of judgment or wrongness, because that's what creates, like I said, the contraction and the limitation. It's very difficult to create from a contracted space of wrongness, right? Some people think they need judgment to motivate themselves. Like, oh, I won't lose all this weight if I don't, make myself wrong and get mad at myself and make myself go to the gym and all of that. I don't generally find that people create very well from that space. So anywhere you guys have bought the idea that you need judgment as a form of motivation to get you to do things, because you think that if I had no judgment, then I would just let myself be a fat, lazy slob or something, will you destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes, please.
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, online, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Wow. So as the judgment comes up, as you become aware of it, you can POC and POD it using that clearing statement. You can ask more questions like, is this even mine? Where did I get it from? Who does it belong to? Is it real? Is it relevant? Does it mean anything? Or is it just an interesting point of view? You have many, many choices.
Yeah, that's true. So thank you, Adriana. So what else is possible actually if we think about mental health, mental issues? So if we release, so one by one, I release the judgment within me. What is possible? What else is possible with mental health in this field?
Well, if you look at what most people are dealing with, typically, like the people that show up for my practice in my office and all of that, it's typically depression and anxiety. That's usually the most common thing you see. If you actually get into like how the person is thinking about themselves and how they're feeling about themselves, it comes back to the same place, the judgments, the distorted ways in which they're seeing themselves. The person who, for example, has a point of view that I need to do everything perfectly is probably going to have a lot of anxiety, right? I have to get it all right. I have to look perfect. Oh my God, people are going to judge me. People are going to think I'm not enough. So they're very consumed with presenting themselves in a certain way, and that can create a lot of anxiety. When a person sees themselves, has the point of view that I'm a failure, nothing ever works out for me, that can create feelings of depression and hopelessness. Like, what's the point? Why even be here? Because I never get what I want. I can't make anything work, right? A lot of what is happening with people's mental health is coming from the points of view that they have about themselves or the world. People who have had a lot of trauma, people who might have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, they often are not feeling safe in the world. They're not feeling like they can trust themselves to protect themselves. So fundamentally, I would say a lot of the symptoms of mental illness are coming from the limiting points of view that people have about themselves. It's not all of it necessarily, but it's definitely a big piece of it. I know plenty of people who I've worked with who have used these tools, myself included, who have used these tools and have a lot less anxiety in their lives and have a lot less depression and have that knowing right? This deeper knowing that even if something bad happens, I can handle it. So the person with anxiety doesn't believe that. The person who doesn't trust themselves to be able to handle everything is going to live in fear of something terrible happening. They're the person who might be catastrophizing. Something bad is going to happen. The other shoe will drop, as we say in English, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so they won't even allow themselves to be happy or be joyful because they're always anticipating something bad will happen and I won't be able to deal with it. And it'll be really painful and horrible and all of that. So any of you that might identify with that pattern of thinking, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate that?
Yes, please.
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What if instead, I mean, at this point, I've had enough bad experiences to know that one, I have tools to get me through anything. Two, how much suffering I experience is my choice, no matter how catastrophic it is. And I've been through some pretty horrible things. It's up to me how I choose to respond to that situation, not the situation itself, that determines my experience of it, right? You can take 100 people who all experience a natural disaster, let's say like a flood or fires, and everyone will have a different response. And some people will be very traumatized and say, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. My life is over. Everything is destroyed. And someone else might take a different point of view and say, hey, yeah, we lost everything. And that was pretty awful. But you know what? We can start all over again. We get a new chapter. We get to rebuild. I can grow from this. What can I learn from this? How can this make me a stronger person? That person's going to have a very different reality than the one who's seeing it as the worst thing that has ever happened.
Yeah, that's true. And the trust of being self-confident and self-love also, that nothing is wrong with me and I will overcome. I will create from everything new, let's say, you know. So this is huge tools and great examples, Adriana. Thank you very much. So you have the next coming classes. So we have foundation. Yeah.
Yes, I am in the middle of, we just started actually a Talk to the Entities beginning, just started today. And I have a foundation class coming up at the end of April. Foundation class, for those of you that don't know, is really, I would say, you know, after Access Bars is really the class where you learn how to use all these different tools. That's why it's called the foundation. It helps you to destroy and uncreate the cracked foundation that you've been living that isn't really working, and allows you to rebuild your foundation from a different space, a different platform. So you learn all these different tools, that some of which I shared with you today. Who does it belong to? Interesting point of view, and hundreds of other ones, tons and tons of clearings. And we get to look at every aspect of your life and find out what's not working and how you can change it, and really empowering people with these tools to create the changes that they want. Because Access isn't just about clearing, it's really about creation. What is the life that you would like to create? So it's a 4-day class. I do it over 2 weekends. It will be the last 2 weekends in April. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but like I think the 23rd and 24th.
23rd, 24th. Mm-hmm.
And then the 30th and May 1st. So we'll do it in person here in San Francisco, and we will also have the cameras on to have live, and we will be offering Spanish translation with these lovely ladies that are here with us today. So today was really just to give you a little taste or preview of what else we could be exploring in the foundation class, or any of the other Access, you know, platforms. I mean, certainly I'm not the only facilitator out there. There's lots and lots of information about Access in the world on YouTube and SoundCloud and podcasts and all different things. So if you all want to find out more about how you can use these tools to empower yourself to come out of the wrongness of you, there's a ton out there on that. And I really invite you to the possibility, you know, just tap into that possibility of what would your life be like if you stopped making yourself wrong all the time? What might open up for you? Wow. What are the infinite possibilities?
Yeah, great questions. And thank you very much, Adriana. So let's see, Lilian, is everything okay? Do you have any question before finishing our Zoom? Okay. So very welcome to our Spanish community again, to our foundation class. So we have Lilian, myself, and we have two other amazing beings like Carolina and Victoria, who are promoting the class. So you can get in touch with us. You can have more information. You can have more questions also regarding to foundation, and you are very welcome. Thank you very much, Adriana.
Thank you, everyone. And if you want to find out more, if you have more questions for me, feel free to hit me up on social media or through my website, adrianapopescu.org.
There's a question, sorry. There's a question in Spanish.
Real quick.
Okay.
I got to be off this in 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Adriana. I didn't see the question. For someone who has Parkinson and feels guilty about everything, what would you say?
Well, one of the things we teach about in the foundation class is distractor implants, and guilt, blame, shame, regret, guilt, and a whole bunch of other emotions are distractor implants that distract you from being the infinite being you truly be. So I would say that that person who experiences that guilt, all that judgment of themselves as bad and wrong, destroy and uncreate all of those with the clearing statement: right, wrong, good, bad, POD, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. That's your magic tool, is the clearing statement. It really does work wonders.
Thank you very much. So see you next time. Thank you. Have a great day.
I appreciate you tuning in today or later when you're watching this.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.